Hello and welcome back to the channel for Kaiju Talk, JPZilla. And we have a lot to talk about with the drop of the first two episodes of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, with a third well on the way. This episode of JPZilla covers both episodes, so if you don't want spoilers, click away now in 3, 2, 1. Alright, now we're going to go into spoiler territory. So right off the bat, I want to talk about Lieutenant Leland Lafayette Shaw III. We see his first chronological appearance in 1952, where he clearly has no clue about monsters, or so it seems. This seems to eliminate the connection between a character also named Shaw and the comic book prequel to Godzilla 2014, Godzilla Awakening. That Shaw from the comic was working for Monarch since at least 1946, even recruiting the father of Dr. Ishiro Serizawa, Dr. Eiji Serizawa. Many fans speculated that Shaw from Legacy of Monsters is this same character from the comic, but since this TV character knows nothing about monsters in 1952, where the comic character was hunting them in 1946, this is obviously not him. Or is it? Monarch is a very secretive organization, so perhaps Shaw is acting as an undercover recruiter, which would explain how Bill Randa and Dr. Miura ended up with Monarch. He did recruit Serizawa's father, Eiji Serizawa, and even recruited Serizawa himself in the 80s, so it may not be that big a stretch to say that he's secretly trying to recruit Dr. Miura and Bill Randa too. Not to mention, the comic Shaw and Legacy of Monsters Shaw look pretty similar. The next thing I want to mention is Randa's bag. In episode 1, we see Bill Randa as he appears in Kong Skull Island, running away from one of those bamboo spider things we saw in the movie. A bag with sensitive Monarch information being thrown from the shores of Skull Island is very reminiscent to something that happened in one of the comic books, specifically Skull Island, The Birth of Kong. In that comic book, Aaron Brooks, the son of Houston Brooks from Kong Skull Island, travels to Skull Island in the 90s. From the island, he leaves a bagged message, just like Randa's. This seems to indicate this was common Monarch procedure, and if so, they may find more bagfuls of info in the future, potentially including one left by Hoshino, Kate and Kotaro's father, in the area he supposedly crashed. The bag could also hint at other recurring elements from Skull Island, The Birth of Kong. Perhaps they will even find Aaron Brooks, still stranded on Skull Island. Next, I want to talk about the eggs. At first glance, these eggs look like 2014 Muto eggs, and some fans may see it as the return of the comic character Muto Prime, who was the progenitor of the two Mutos we saw in Godzilla 2014. But in my opinion, neither is accurate. Muto Prime had to lay its eggs inside unfortunate titans like a parasite does, and regular Mutos, as seen in 2014, lay their eggs in an upside-down pyramid. What's more, when they hatch, that is, the eggs from Monarch Legacy of Monsters, they look nothing like Mutos. And even though insects in real life often lay larvae that look nothing like their adult selves, Muto larvae as seen in Godzilla 2014 look simply like small versions of Mutos. And this is a type of larva known as a nymph, where it looks like a small version of the adult until it grows into a large version of the adult. Finally, Dr. Miura identifies these new types of larvae as insectoid. However, Mutos, in spite of appearance, are not actually insectoid, as they do not have a segmented body or an exoskeleton, properties a creature must have to be considered insectoid. So, they are not Mutos. What are they then? The first creature that came to mind when I saw these things is Meganulla. Meganulla are a fictional extinct species of dragonfly which featured in the movie Rodan, as well as Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. Unlike Muto, they are true insects. In Godzilla vs. Megaguirus, they had a queen named Megaguirus, who fought Godzilla in a brutal battle. If those larval creatures are Meganulla, we could either see the return of a classic Toho monster as a surprise treat for us Godzilla fans, or a monster based on the classic creature. The last creature I want to talk about is the dragon. I actually suspect the dragon is going to be the main antagonist of the show, as far as I caught, he was the only Titan, other than Godzilla, that actually featured in the opening credits, and so did his weird light pattern graph that Dr. Randa drew. And he was flying over a city in the opening credits. Not only that, but he was flying over a city on both sides of the screen. The opening credits has this weird mirror type thing going on, and it looks like on one side is the present, or what used to be the present in 2015, and the past of 1952 to 1959. And this creature was present on both sides of the screen, which seems to indicate to me that he may be present in both timelines. Not only that, he may attack a city in both timelines, potentially indicating he is a bigger threat than he appears in the second episode. Not to mention that since the show is largely about Randa and his descendants, it would be fitting to have the creature that attacked his ship be the main antagonist of the story. In his appearance in episode 2, he appeared a lot smaller than titans like Godzilla and Kong as we see him in the modern day, so some people might say that this rules him out as a potential threat to creatures like Godzilla. However, I beg to differ. After all, Kong from Skull Island was only a third of the size of Godzilla in 2014. However, as he aged through the different eras, much like I suspect this dragon will, he got much, much bigger, to the point where he was able to punch Godzilla in the face. I think the dragon will also grow like Kong, to the point where he will be able to challenge Godzilla by the end of the series. But what is this dragon? What should it be called? Monarch has a history of naming titans after the mythological figures of the places they were found. The closest mythological figure of Philippine mythology I could find is the Bakunawa. Interestingly, Bakunawa is said to come from the underworld, which in Legacy of Monsters could be interpreted as the Hollow Earth. Bakunawa was fascinated with the light of the moons, eating 6 of the 7 original moons in Filipino mythology. Perhaps the fascination of light this mythological creature seems to possess could be tied into the light powers we see this dragon creature have in episode 2. Maybe even fueled by the supposed moons he ate, or whatever it might actually represent in the Monsterverse. Similar to how, in the Godzilla vs. Kong novelization, it talks about a creature named Zozlahuala, who ate a star and was able to breathe fire because of it. And this obviously represents Godzilla, so perhaps Bakunawa ate a moon and got light powers from it, in a parallel to that story. And when the mythology says a moon, perhaps it means Hollow Earth rocks or something like that. I don't know. Just a wild theory, really. Overall, I think Bakunawa is a very fitting name for this creature, and if I had to guess, that is what we will be calling it in future episodes. On a less monster-related note, I think we are about to see some infighting in Monarch. When Monarch agent Tim was told about someone trying to access Monarch files, he was also asked if he wanted someone named Verdugo to be notified of the breach. From the context of the conversation, we can assume that Verdugo is some sort of superior officer. Collins, the data culling officer who first spotted the breach in Monarch security when Hoshino's files were accessed, said that Verdugo wanted to handle everything after G-Day, that is, after Godzilla attacked San Francisco. But Tim ignored this comment and rushed Collins out the door. This really makes it seem like Tim is hiding something from Verdugo, which could indicate there could be 2 warring factions in Monarch, one trustworthy and the other not, as Tim clearly wanted to hide some secret from the superior officer. This concept almost reminds me of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and the 2 factions went to war. If they used a similar concept here, it could help amp up the spy drama they seem to be going with. With this theory in mind, I might guess that Tim may not be trying to hurt Kate and Kentaro, or even threaten them, but perhaps save them from Monarch extremists. Again, I would like to state that that is just a wild theory, but it could potentially be true, as I don't really see Tim being the bad guy in this series, if you know what I mean. So this has been my analysis of the first 2 episodes of Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. And what do you think? Am I crazy? Or am I onto something here? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, like, share, and subscribe for more kaiju content.